Readiness self-assessment for the writing formulas and equations. Number 1, when b times d subtract k equals y and d is not equal to 0, what is b? So we're going to solve for b. So I'm going to start by moving the k to the opposite side, by adding opposites, subtracting is adding, and then dividing by d. And assuming that d is not equal to 0, this would be our correct answer, y plus k divided by d. Number 2, if y, d, and f are non-zero real numbers and c, d equals f, which of the following equations for c must always be true? So if we're going to solve for c here, we're going to start by dividing by d. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. C equals f over d. C equals f over d. And the correct answer is C. Number 3, to solve for y. So right now I can see that I'm going to start by subtracting the 2x. xy equals 6, subtract 2x. Then to eliminate the x that's stuck with the y, I'm going to divide by x again. And now remember, this x needs to be shared with the 6 and also with the 2x. So 6 over x minus 2x over x. The x's, we say they cancel. In reality, they turn into a 1, and you're left with y equals 6 over x subtract 2. Number 4, we're going to solve for y, but I can see there's 2y, so I'm going to pull a y out, and I can also see I have a 2 here, so I'm going to pull a 2y out. 2y times what quantity is 4y? I'm going to start over here, making some mistakes. 2y times 2 is 4y, and 2y times a negative 1x would multiply to equal negative 2xy. So I'm going to divide by this group. It's stuck with the 2y, so I have 2y is equal to 28 divided by 2 minus 1x. And then my goal is to divide by 2. So I want to take and divide this group by 2. So y equals 28 over, and when I divide by this 2 to isolate the y, it's 2 times the quantity, 2 minus 1x. So I can distribute that and get y is equal to 28 over 4 minus 2x. I do want to do a few problems from the last checkpoint quiz, similar to the last checkpoint quiz as a review. So if we want to solve for x, let's start by identifying the 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 3 times 1 is 3. 12 times 2, don't forget about this, 12 times 2 is 24. Now distribute. Combining like terms. Take 9 away from 32. And to isolate the x, I'm going to start by subtracting 23. And now dividing by 23. Okay, let's also work when we have decimals. What does it look like when we have decimals? Okay, so if we want to eliminate the decimals, if you don't like working with the decimals, if I move this once to the right, then everywhere else in every other group I must move it once to the right. And if there's not a decimal, remember it's really hidden behind. So 23x plus, this becomes 40, you move it once to the right and fill in the 0, equals 12x plus 25. I'm going to move the x's to the left. 23 subtract 12 is 11x plus 40 equals 25. Move the 40 over to the right-hand side. And if you take 40 away from 25, you end up with a negative 15. Now divide by 11, and x equals negative 15 11ths. Remember, for either one of these problems, you can take your answer, if you have time, substitute it back in for the variable in the original problem, and the left side should equal the right side. Okay, coming to number 5. Heron's formula, which we've worked with now for a while. Remember, this is the area, gives us the area of a non-right triangle. And we're given the sides for B, or we're given the different lengths for A, B, and C. Solve for B in the formula above. Okay, we're going to solve for B. So if I want to get B by itself, I need to first start by eliminating this square root. So I'm going to square both the left side and the right side. And I end up with a squared equals s times the quantity s minus a, s minus b, and s minus c. And again, we're trying to isolate the b. I have 4 groups, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I want to get this group by itself. The other 3 groups are stuck with it by multiplying. And so if I divide by them, I'll be left with just s minus b. And again, we think that they just disappear, but in reality they turn into a 1 when we say they cancel out. So on the left-hand side, I have a squared over s times s minus a times s minus c equals s minus b. And I want to solve for b. So let's start by moving s to the opposite side. It's positive, so to move it over, I subtract it. So I subtracted the s, and now there's a negative sign in front of this b. So this negative sign really is like negative 1, and when you divide by negative 1, b will be isolated, and our groups over here will change signs. This group is currently positive, and this group is currently negative. When I divide by a negative, it will become negative b squared over s times s minus a times s minus b, s minus c, excuse me. Positive became negative, and negative became positive. We've now solved for little b. Then we're going to take a, little a is 10, little c is 16, and s is 19. We're going to plug it in and solve for b. Okay, and what they are missing here, what they have not provided for us, is they have not provided for us what the actual area is in order to go backwards. So I will change that for next year. But this is how we solve for little b. And again, we could substitute in little a, little c, and s, but we do need to have the area in order to solve for b. Okay, let's go on to number 6. Number 6. Solve for this for b sub 8. So let's get b sub 8 by itself. Okay, so I can see these things are stuck with it. So if I take, and don't let those subscripts confuse you. I want to get this by itself. Everything's stuck with it, so I'm going to divide. This is a subscript, it's down below. This is a square, it's up above. So now I have 8 sub 8 by itself. And now we want to solve for b sub 8 when we know what t is and we know what g is. So first, I'm going to get an answer on the bottom. Negative 7 times, okay, t sub 4 is this fraction up above. This needs to have a 4 here. Negative 23 divided by 14. And then g is negative 2, and I'm going to square it. So I know negative 2 squared, negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. This is the denominator. This is negative 7 times t sub 4 times g squared. Okay? And then I'm going to take and go 23 divided by this quantity is 0.5. So b sub 8 is 0.5.